in extremely sad news. Um, hip hop lost another bright star. Um,
What do you know?
King Von, um, rapper from Chicago, was gunned down in Atlanta. Uh, there is video footage of it. Go figure. Um, and
As always.
yeah, and just the news was heartbreaking. Um, King Von, a part of OTF, Dark's record label, and just to watch those kids build themselves from nothing has been one of the more impressive um, climbs as a music fan. Um, I obviously hear the people echoing, his subject matter and his content, and wanting that to be the conversation. We're not gonna do that, and it won't be had on my watch. If we want to talk accountability, if we want to talk responsibility, um, we'll get there. We'll get there. I'm sorry, I'm skipping steps, but um, it just hurt. It hurt. It hurt. It hurt as if I knew that young man. It hurt as if I knew his family. Um, and and even in the midst of talking about what's going on in Chicago, what's happening in Atlanta, we Bugsy, my dear brother was gunned down in Atlanta. So there is, and we did a Beat Boutique last week, and so at the Beat Boutique, they're guest producers. I just so happened to be one of the producers, so I was just going to play beats. But what happens at the Beat Boutique? You play 5 beats, and the crowd votes on the beat. And so I went second, but Kevin Allen went first, and he just played this fire ass beat, and I had to write to it. And I literally started my verse off. They just buried my nigga yesterday, so fuck this election, and I meant it. It's hard to be consumed with the election when tragedy is as close as it's been since New Year's. And the coverage, the lack of coverage, or even the way that it's covered, is sort of just like status quo, like we're just business as usual. Another one dead, and not and literally no regard and no concern for what that ripple effect will do to that young man or woman's neighborhood, their immediate family, the children that they leave behind, the significant others that are left behind, the family that is left to pick up the pieces, the heartbreak. Um, I used to I wasn't sure how I felt about the concept of dying from a broken heart until Bugsy's mother um, passed the day her grandbaby was born. You know, and it's just it's hard. And as as we as we as we unpack the grieving process and come to understand it, and how long it may actually take and how intricate it really is, um, it's not something to be taken lightly. It's not something to be just pushed aside, and it's not something to be preyed upon and to be monetized from. And so the news comes out, and the way that Hip Hop DX covered it, the way that TMZ covered it, the way that academics sick ass covered it, um, was heartbreaking, bro. Because it was just a means of it was just a means of platform traffic for them. And I say that confidently because of the role that they played in the beefs that were ensuing between different camps, and how that is covered and how it's discussed and how it's sort of just cast aside and not taken seriously. These kids with these big ass fucking guns aren't playing. They mean it. Like, I know it sound cool and niggas is partying to it and turning up to it and shit. But with them, when they even if they don't mean it at the time that they saying that shit, the more you get to chant it and say it over and perform it, and the more clicks it gets and the more streams it gets, nigga, that shit becomes mantra for real, for real. And I know that people are gonna be like, Monty, you bugging for trying to hold the labels accountable, for trying to hold the blog sites accountable, for trying to hold fuck that. Because there are artists out here that are uplifting black people, that are trying to evolve black people. Nipsey was trying to pivot from having to rap about that street shit. And even in the midst of rapping about the street shit, he was dropping fucking gems, my nigga. Guess what? He's gone. And a lot like Martin and Malcolm, he was propped up so much to the point to where watching him evolve in real time and sort of switch his thinking to the empowerment of all black people became way more deadly than him rapping about warring with other black people. And to keep it a buck with y'all, bro. It's just getting harder and harder and harder to stomach. It's getting harder and harder and harder to be cordial with some of these mindless sort corporations who only stand to profit from our demise. King Von's numbers are through the roof because he's dead. Mac Miller's last 4 projects were the most ultimate cries for help as far as his addiction. And it's getting disgusting. And the world been celebrating, and hip hop just lost another bright star that had the means to change so many people's lives. His ascension and before his transition had the means to impact so many people where he came from, and he had hopes to providing for his neighborhood. He just was getting it the only way that he saw fit, that he knew how, and primarily because it's what's promoted. Primarily, it's because what is able to generate an insane amount of income. Like I still can't, for the life of me, I cannot understand how art and music about killing another black person can generate so much fucking excitement from the others. And to have conversations about who's snitching, a whole lot of choppers on your ass is a TikTok sensation. And nobody's having a conversation. This ain't me going at those rappers, because I get why they're doing it. Nigga, I got a couple songs about choppers and shit over here. I promise you I do, on this hard drive somewhere, because I wanna get this bag, nigga. Like, for real. It's something that you think about.
Might as well just leak that shit.
Might as well just drop it, huh?
Just leak it, bro. Like, I ain't know where that shit came from. that was young me, that was before I changed,
G, I swear.
Hey, look around. Who the leaks, man? Who the leaks in the camp, man?
It's one of y'all.
who had access to the drive, man?
Yeah, am I making sense, or am I just talking crazy?
Nah, you making complete sense on the ethics portion of things. You know what I mean? But this was kind of like the conversation I was having about like during the protests and stuff like that. I didn't want to see the beef spill out into the streets, as far as like in front of cameras. You know what I mean? Like, if you got a beef with somebody, make sure that shit is off camera. You know what I mean? But it was just way bigger plays at the moment. You know what I mean? And I think that's the bigger issue at heart here. That yes, the coverage is fucking it up, because it's not doing any justice or any help to the conversation behind black on black crime. because as much as we know that there isn't a such thing, the marketing ploy on it is only going to be heightened
Thank you.
by more coverage on black crime. You know what I mean? Like, and that's going back to the conversation about I don't know how white people die, because like it's not covered the way that black people's death is covered. Like the fact that there's a camera that's always handy when a black person dies is sick to me. You know what I mean? Like it's a deeper woven sickness to the entire public. But why others are so infatuated with it is because that is what they see, that is what they know from afar. They know that it's rare, it's a rare occasion, if ever, that they'll be put in a situation where that is going to be real to them. So they see it as nothing different than watching superheroes at play, to tell you the truth. Like, it's not like a superhero that can't die. You know what I mean? Like, that tends to happen more times than not in these particular cases because none of us are bulletproof. We may speak as if we are, but none of us are actually bulletproof. But from the other's point of view, there's only going to be another superhero. But in the meantime, seeing that this superhero dies is infatuating to me as another because I was aware of so much of their lifestyle, and to see that a lot of their lifestyle comes to fruition, it makes it so that it's more intriguing to know that they could be wiped away than it is for them to win or for them to uh, uh, make it to the point where people forget about them, or not even forget about them, but make it to the point where they creep beyond the height that they're at. You know what I mean? Like, because we might as well kill off people that reach a certain height ourselves by ignoring them once they've been here long enough to no longer be hot. Like, we might as well kill them off ourselves. You know what I mean? Like that. I feel like that's in the same ballpark as dying young at your height when you're just about to get on or when you are getting on.
Yeah.
The same death is after you've been on and you're being here for a long enough period of time that people start talking about you as if you never were hot. That's the same type of death in my book.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, probably not to families, I get that, but I'm talking about on the overall scope of fame and celebrity and all the shit that we're actually talking about when it's talk about monetizing things.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's sad to hear. I had a big RIP for that way. I mean, I had just learned about King Von a little while ago. Um, it's not my realm to like really know too much about like drill music. Is that drill music?
Yeah. Yeah. But
Like drill rap?
and Dirk, I think Dirk sort of coined it the best. He's like they what Vaughn and his sort of faction was able to do was sort of channel what Sosa and them did in like 11,
Okay.
2011, but even figure out how to turn it up a little bit. You know what I'm saying? And so it again, it's not I'm not naive and I'm not naive to what the subject matter was by any means, but these are babies we talking about. And how influential forget influence, this is true recantment of what it is they have access to and what they're seeing. So he wasn't making that shit up at
Okay.
all, at all. That's this what type of time they own. This is the life they live in. They're not making it up, and that's the unfortunate part that
Okay.
uh,
So what is the shelf life for the clock on a life that is being lived that way, money?
you're right. You're right. It's short. I'm not, but for that, it's extremely short. To answer your question, sorry, extremely short. But for time and time again, for the labels
I got
to invest in that, what's the difference? Outside of ROI? What is the difference between Empire, Atlantic, Universal giving King Von or someone a bag of that magnitude for their subject matter versus investing in Rhapsody or someone from the Jamlo Squad who the music is excellent and is uplifting black people. Oh, ain't nobody checking for this shit. Ain't nobody listening for that shit. Why? What is the infatuation with the demise of black men and women? What is that fascination on both ends? I'm not absolving us of that. I turn that shit on just like everybody else. I'm guilty too. What is our fascination with that? Is all I want to unpack and
I get it.
uncover,
Yeah.
in the hopes that we can pivot. Um, that should just hurt. It just hurt because it it's what we know that comes with that life, and that hurts to say. To just normalize and go, that's what come with it. I, I don't want to say that no more.
Yeah, I think the issue at heart or at hand here is that and like deep down in people's hearts, they do not want to be better. Like they don't want to feel better. They don't want to get better. Uh, it's way more like it feels better. It's a lot more impactful for them to have small wins, like short goal wins. And I think that like as far as happiness being elusive, as long as they can always be striving towards it and say as if that is something that is eventually obtainable, then they get over on the fact that they could be unhappy right now.
Mm-hmm.
Like I think the unhappiness part, people tend to stay in way longer than they need to, and that's only because if they were to obtain happiness and find out that it's not all that it's cooped up to be, that they will somehow when they figure out that hiding space, they will end up being, there's nothing else to strive for.
Yeah.
I think that's the same. That's the same thing with. I mean, yeah. I think that's kind of where it is as a public. So that's the reason why they tune in and be so into the demise of things.
Yeah.
Like that shit is hella interesting, demises and stuff for some fucking reason for people.